By now, you've probably come across this show on YouTube called Pop the Balloon or Find Love. And, there are different variations of it, but the one that has caught my eye, and the only one I've really spent time watching, is Arlette Amani, I believe. And I think what's interesting about the way that she structures it is she makes a point to ask the people who denied a person why they didn't like a certain person or why they liked them at first and then they stopped liking them. So you get more insight into like the honesty of people, men and women, right? What men pay attention to and a lot of the stuff I talk about, and what women pay attention to, what actually matters in mate selection and in sustaining interest. Now, obviously, I think the game is not, or the experiment is not a good way to find love. Like, if you look at the almost like reunion shows that she does, where she brings back couples who matched, I don't know if any of them either went on a date or after the first date continued pursuing each other. Like I was watching one yesterday, and she only matched with the dude because he decided to sell himself. And he was talking about how he has a big house and a pool, and unfortunately, the brother is Nigerian. But it was clear during the show she wasn't interested in him, and she was interested in another Nigerian dude, Ovi, ironically. But because he sold himself, he got the match. They never went on a date, and she admitted during this show that she wasn't interested in him. The lesson here is, number one, the type of person who's going to go on this type of public show to find love is typically going to be a person who's more so interested in the publicity aspect of it than actually finding a mate. I thought that was obvious, but it seems like a lot of people didn't realize it was obvious. So that's one thing. That's why, like, when you watch the show, everybody and their brother is a model, part-time model, musician. But the second thing too is what people select initially is usually what is or what they can identify as their comfort zone. Like, you'll hear a lot of the women on the show say, you're not my usual type. And then when Arlette asks them to explain what their usual type is, it's usually some nonsense, right? And we've talked ad nauseum about how a lot of our women in particular are attracted to nonsense, and it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because at some point nonsense becomes your norm, and you couldn't even accommodate the type of man that you claim you want, or the type of man that you claim you would want to build a life with. Now, for the fellas, I ain't gonna lie, some of the reasons they were popping their balloons were either super shallow and superficial, or maybe just not explained properly. I know one of the popular shows from Arlette's platform is this girl who came out in a brown dress, and the guys popped their balloons because of the brown dress, right? Now, the reality is the reason why they popped their balloon is because the lady was built. Facially speaking, she wasn't the most gifted facially. She had a nice body, but it seemed like a muscular body. And side note, every fat ass is not a soft ass. I think that's an African proverb or something I made up. But, unfortunately, the brothers aren't being represented well by the brothers who come on this show, because there are opportunities for them to really explain and elaborate why some of the aspects of the ways that the women presented themselves were off-putting to them, or would be off-putting to men generally, but that opportunity usually wasn't taken. And on the flip side, women took a lot of opportunities to talk about, hey, why are you wearing this even though you're not going here? Why did you show up like this? Which I thought was interesting. I also thought the inconsistencies were interesting as well. Like, you'll see a woman come out and deny a dude because he has dreads, and then like another dude who has dreads, or deny a dude because he's short and like another dude who is short, right? So, when we having the conversation about looks maxing and, making yourself the most appealing to women, women are not consistent mathematicians like we are, right? So a woman might say, I hate short dudes, and the love of her life is going to be a short dude. Now, it's going to be a short dude with swag or money or whatever the case may be, somebody who knows how to maximize what he does have. But, a lot of the reasons why we think women don't like us is not the actual reason why they don't like us, right? Sometimes, and we've talked about this, sometimes it has to do with your hygiene. Sometimes it has to do with your level of charisma. Sometimes it has to do with your conversation skills, right? Because even going back to the dude with the pool who matched, but the girl wasn't really interested, one of the things she said is that he hasn't made her laugh once. Now, take that with a grain of salt, because he was 39 or 38 and she's 24, 25. And, he works in marketing. She's a model, right? So expectations are a little bit different. So you have to take that with a grain of salt. So he shouldn't have been interested in her in the first place. But again, men are visual, and a lot of times we'll ignore or minimize the things that actually matter, which is another lesson in this show. But yeah, dude was very flat, very uninteresting. But the thing that struck me, or that would have turned me off if I was a woman, is he was really long-winded. Right? When it was his opportunity to speak, like, there was no beginning, middle, and end. It was just a run-on sentence. Right? So I hope that when you guys are watching these shows, like, you're taking notes, men. You're taking notes of how, men are carrying themselves, the good, the bad, what you can incorporate into the ways that you move. And women as well, There might be a certain lady who comes out and the dudes don't like her dress. Maybe they don't do a good enough job explaining why. But maybe it's an opportunity for you to consider, okay, do I have that outfit? Do I have her body type? To, figure out if it works for me, if it doesn't work for me. But also, I guess, to land this plane, in this current modern world, we're not as pressed for companionship like we pretend we are sometimes. Because in opportunities like this, and you see some of the women on the show are well into their 30s, and the men on the show are, sometimes great dudes. Maybe not the most swaggerific, but he would make a good partner. He would make a good father. And her balloon pops because she's not sexually attracted to him. Now, I don't think we should keep blaming women for what they are initially attracted to, or what they anticipate being able to entertain, tolerate, live with. I think all we can do is maximize who we are as men. That means, get some money, sure, but also become interesting. Get a passion. Do that. And naturally, you'll meet other people who care about the stuff that you care about. And I think as men in particular, like, you need to be okay being by yourself. Like when you see these guys who are super, I'm looking for my wife. Like me personally, something about that is off-putting because they never win. Like I think it's a show on YouTube, Dear Future Wifey. You know, you as a man, your mission, your purpose should be your priority, right? I mentioned in one video how Brother Polite, scamming aside, he made a really good point. He said the three types of men who've always been successful with women from the beginning of time are teachers, preachers, and gangsters. And the one thing those three archetypes have in common is that they prioritize their missions over women. For a preacher, it's God above all else. For a teacher, it's wisdom above all else. And for a gangster, it's money above all else. So as you're chasing the thing that you've identified as your purpose, a woman naturally falls in line. But these days it seems like the dudes are more pressed for companionship, for creating a fairy tale than the women are. And I think that's how you get scenarios where men are getting played and men are overlooking the obvious signs of her trauma or her inability to pair bond or whatever the case may be. And then ladies, I mean, ultimately, you have to ask yourself, what type of future do you want? And what type of man is going to give that to you? And who do you need to become to accommodate that man in your life? There's a sexual connotation there as well. But like, share, subscribe, comment. I know y'all haven't really liked my recent videos. Maybe you dislike this one too. I don't know. Comment. I'll talk to y'all in the comments. Follow on Instagram at WNT Talk, TikTok WNT Talk. Patreon is where the polished, edited stuff is going to be from now on. So check us out there. Like, share, subscribe. Peace.